it'll be public next time, so yeah, you can keep that.
Yep. Okay, open session report. A closed session meeting was held. 3 items were on the agenda pertaining to labor relations or employment negotiations, with direction provided to the CAO clerk on the following for ratification in open session on January 18, 2017. A, CAO clerk 2017 work plan. B, corporate realignment and revised organizational chart. And C, compensation for non-union employees cost of living adjustment 2017. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Darrell McLaughlin, seconded by Kathy Regier. Be it resolved that bylaw 17-01-915, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held January 4th, 2017, be read and passed. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Number 8, notice of motion for future agendas. Any?
Yeah, there we go. I think in one of the next few council meetings, we're going to have to take a hard look at the police reporting. So I have a general understanding of it. But I think I'd like to know more details. For instance, you know, how's the township billed for an incident occurred last week in Cobden, where I believe the SWAT team was involved, and there was about 8 or 10 police cars involved, and that kind of thing. So I'd like to understand how that impacts the report. In addition to that, the report does state that the contents to be shared only with the municipality for which it was generated. But I'd like to understand how are we stacking up versus other regions. For instance, I just did some quick numbers off the current report, which is year-to-date. I just did year-to-date November 2016. And it seems like violent crime is down, traffic is down, but there seems to be some other buckets that are really concerning. For instance, drug possessions. So I believe it is the number of calls, so year-to-date weighted hours. So the drug possessions up 54% over last year, and just drugs, I didn't dig into, it just says drugs. So drug possession up 54%, drugs time up 150% over prior year. And then there's other criminal code violations up 78% over other years. So I think this is going to become an area that we're going to have to look at as a region. As we all know, due to the new billing procedures, Whitewater region has been severely impacted. But in addition to that, we're looking at a 13.7% increase in the total number of hours versus that's just versus prior year. So I think it was, I probably have the numbers wrong, it was about a 20 or 25% increase over prior year to begin with, just for the new billing, and then we have another, almost 14%. So I'd like to understand how that's going to look like going forward.
We can ask Colin Slight to come and make a presentation to council at any time. Councillor Jackson, then Councillor Mackay, then Councillor Regier, then Councillor McLaughlin.
My understanding of the OPP billing is that it depends on the type of offense that has occurred and how many hours that has been allocated. So say if it was a simple theft, well, they say, okay, it's going to take us an hour on average. It may take them 3 or 4 hours, but they bill for an hour. If it was a murder, they budget, okay, on average, you're going to get billed for 100 hours because it was a murder, but they take 50 hours. Well, you're going to be charged for the 100 hours. It's an average cost for each incident, and that's kind of a simple way of of explaining it, but I agree. I don't know if Colin would have to do it, or he might recommend somebody to come up and explain how the billing process is and what the rates are for each type of offense that has been committed or investigated within Whitewater Region. Obviously, a 911 call that, you know, if it's one incident, you know, and if it's a false call, you know, it takes 2 seconds, how much are you billed compared to, you know, a drug incident and all of that. There's different charges for different number of investigators required for different incidences as well. So it's quite a, just to compare the numbers that you've compared doesn't necessarily mean that our costs are going to go up 14%. So, yeah, I think it's best if we get somebody that does actual with the billing, and I don't know that Colin Slythe would be the one. I think he would recommend somebody to come, but if you have those types of questions, and maybe if we kind of outline those questions to Robert, that he could forward those on to Colin so that the person that's coming would understand exactly what they're going to answer to. Does that make sense, Councillor Olmsted? Sorry.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a great idea, and just to understand the breakdown, the report is very detailed. For instance, it says, I'll give an example here of a break and enter. Every break and enter we get charged 6.4 hours. So no matter where the break and enter is, no matter the amount, theft of a bicycle, we also get charged 6.4 hours.
Yep.
Or theft theft under, theft over. I guess it's under 5,000, over 5,000. You get charged 6.4 hours for every one of those thefts. So I think just more clarity is going to be required for us to understand and tell our constituents, you know, the reason we're getting charged an extra $250,000 this year for policing is because of X.
Yeah. Just something to add, Councillor Olmsted, is the report is given to us because of the legal aspects. It has to be designated to us. Our part of the report can be given to our people, like our residents, but we can get a copy of everybody else in Renfrew County to compare to, which they do have on, I've seen 3 or 4 of them, and I think probably Councillor McLaughlin would be the one that would have to get them from a committee meeting, but they do provide them to us. We just can only make ours public. And so, Councillor Mackay?
Well, first off, I think the OPP do a pretty good job, but I don't think we're getting enough bang for our buck. You never see them patrolling. You never see them in Westmeath. You see them once a week in Beachburg. I'm probably on the highway, and excuse me, I know there's 2 different forces, the Renfrew and Pembroke, but I think every municipality should make these guys show up and give us more service. We just signed a check, and that's too much money for a township this size. It's just out of hand. The whole province.
Yes, and I'll respond to that in that they'll come as often as you want. It's just they've made up how they bill. We have no say, and if you want them to come 47 times to Westmeath and 64 times to Beachburg, that's not a problem. They'll do that. You just charge you by the hour for everything they do.
I understand that, but we should get more service out of the money we're putting into this. It's a pretty safe community. It's not like they're...
And that has been addressed continually, that we're being treated arbitrarily. And for instance, 2/3 of the province doesn't get charged for anything. It's the household setup, the whole issue, and that can be explained whenever they come to. But it's a very rurally unfair system, I think, also. But that's the way it is at the moment. And I agree with you, Councillor Rigger.
Well, I was just going to suggest as well, the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment recently had a change of command, and we've never met that individual. And I know previous, they have came and introduced themselves, and that may be something as well that we could look at in the new year to come and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this billing comes from Inspector Colin Slight. Just that detachment, I don't think it's coming from the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment. It's just coming from one.
Oh, yeah, he does.
From one detachment.
Yeah, and it's reflected by both, or reflective to both.
It is, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Unfortunately.
okay.
Who was next? Darrell, Councillor McLaughlin.
I think Councillor Rager answered my question, because I would assume that came from Colin Slade. That would come from the Renfrew detachment. That would come from CPAC, which is a Renfrew. Why would he have anything to do, or would he be collecting the statistics from the Upper Ottawa Valley detachment? So I'm quite interested, and I may say I appreciate, other than that it's going to be a lot more meetings, but I would like to see this thing, because I'd like to gain some more knowledge. Back years ago, when previous council, every month, every time, and I think it was 4 or 5 times a year, we would get the statistics from the CPAC, the Renfrew, and it would break down each township as to the traffic, the break-ins, the thefts, and each township would be, it would have each township's, the amount
Listed,
of calls there were to each township. I have yet to see one, and I don't know if that's public knowledge, but I'm kind of much like Councillor Rager, and I think we ran this one through before, and nobody seemed to could come up with the right answer. But I don't understand, if it comes from Colin Slade and he's in charge of CPAC in the Renfrew detachment, then why would it reflect the Upper Ottawa Valley detachment? Don't understand.
He's in charge of CPAC for this region, so that puts him in the overall between the two. His position that he used to have has changed, to my understanding. So we'll clarify it, but his statistics that he presents to us is for both places, both detachments. So they gave him their information, and he puts it with his information, and then it's sent to us as one package. That was their choice to do that, apparently. Yeah. So anyway, we'll get Colin and his explaining person. We've had them before, and I think in 2014. So it's time, because there have been some changes in the system. Councillor McLaughlin.
Well, just to go back, and that's many, many moons ago, every council meeting, the detachment would drop in and ask if they had any concerns. But that, I don't know if Councillor Rager was on council at that time, but that was, and it happened every month, twice a month, because we would have two meetings, and they would drop in, ask us if we had any concerns. That's gone by the wayside. Mm-hmm. We don't have that anymore. So just to say, like, there's certain information seems to have, and that's why I've been so concerned about it, because I was used to getting old information, and that all of a sudden it ceased. So
the OPP has changed their way of doing things.
The mayor is going to, this time, he's addressed my concerns, because he's put me on that board. So I will dig into it, Councillor Rager, and I will give you back some information.
And you have expressed an interest many times, so. Reeve Miller.
I'd like to go down with Darrell sometime, if that's okay, because we're not having very many meetings, and I'm not sure just where it's going in the Upper Ottawa Valley, so I'd
coordinate.
Once again, bring them here. I would like I would like to bring him here, so we have a face. Then we all get the same message, as opposed to you getting a message, and you getting a message, and you getting a message. Bring him here, and we can answer our questions from one individual.
I agree. We will, and, Robert will do that. Councillor McLaughlin.
Just to, reiterate to, Reeve Miller, nothing has changed in the past 4 years. You can ask Councillor Reager, she had an awful time. And she was appointed to that Upper Ottawa Valley, board. And, I don't know if you had 1 or 2 meetings over the 4 years.
Answer that, we did it. For the first 2 years, we met quarterly, but in the last 2 years, I've never met anybody since Inspector Jeff Smith left. I haven't met anybody or seen anybody, or I don't think you have either, so it's ever...
All right, any other announcements, requirements, or so forth? Moved by Dave Mackay, seconded by Kathy Reager. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region adjourn the special council meeting of January 4th, 2017 at 3:40 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Yeah.
Followed me from Georgian Bay.
Supposed to get another 4 inches today, or this afternoon. Yeah, coming up.